Tonight, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont and the ranking Democrat on the Senate Budget Committee. Senator, good to have you with us tonight. This is calling them out and making a few folks bring in their markers, I would say. Do you think Majority Leader McConnell is going to actually allow your amendment to get a vote?
I surely hope that he does. Ed, as you've indicated, this is a very foundational issue, very basic. Do members of the Republican Party believe in science? Do they respect what the scientific community is telling us in climate change? Are they going to learn from that, or do they choose to be deniers? We know that the chairman of the Environmental Committee believes that climate change is a hoax. He's prepared to reject science. How do other Republicans feel? So I hope very much that we get this amendment. We will see whether or not it can pass. I could tell you that on the Energy Committee, when I offered a similar amendment, all the Republicans voted to table it.
Well, I read somewhere where 72% of Republicans in the Senate are climate deniers. Is that an accurate number? Would you say that?
Well, we will see it. And, you know, I've heard numbers like that as well. And if they are prepared to reject what the scientific community tells us, which is pretty straightforward, and that is that climate change is real, it's caused by human activity. It is already, as we all know, causing devastating problems. And if we don't transform our energy system away from fossil fuel, it's only going to get worse. That is not Bernie Sanders. That is what the scientific community is telling us. And if those guys are prepared to reject that, let them go back to their constituents and explain why.
So there's no better way to kick off this debate or to get them on record that they really do believe that climate change is not real, or they just don't want to go on the record because they know they're wrong on the issue. So there's a real multiple choice here as to why Republicans would not want to vote on this. Bottom line here, it really causes a problem for them, doesn't it?
I should think so. It really does. Look, you know, take a deep breath and think what kind of world we are living in. And by the way, Ed, you know, virtually every major scientific organization in the United States is on record in understanding that climate change is real. There are 135 international academies of science all over the world saying the same thing. And it really does become a frightening situation when you have the dominant party on Capitol Hill controlling the House, controlling the Senate, saying, you know what? We reject science. We don't care what the scientific community is saying. We want more fossil fuel in this country.
Why can't we do this on other issues, Senator? I mean, the question begs, what about taxes? What about health care? What about Social Security? I mean, the way you have worded this, climate change is real, climate change is caused by human activities, climate change has already caused devastating problems. I mean, it's forcing them to deny the facts. Well, Ed, it seems to me that on minimum wage, it's factual that our economy is not hurt when minimum wage is raised, which, of course, they are against.
Look, I think you're right, and I think that is exactly what we have to do. I think I am prepared, and I think others are as well, for example, in terms of Social Security, to bring forth a resolution which says that the Congress will not cut Social Security benefits, but rather expand those benefits. They want to vote against that? Let them vote against that. I think they will be very much in the minority in terms of how the American people feel if they do.
And still on climate change and energy, Senator Ted Cruz is pushing a measure to end the 4-decade-old ban on exporting U.S. oil. Now, who would benefit from that, number one? And do you see any real support for ending the ban at this point?
Well, I think we all know who benefits from that. Obviously, the oil companies who can earn higher profits by selling their product abroad will be the people who gain. The people who lose will be the American people back here. In our country, will be forced to pay higher prices for gas and oil. And clearly, you know, what Cruz is saying is he's more interested in protecting the oil industry and the profits of the oil industry than ordinary Americans. I hope very much, and between you and me, I do not think that a resolution or an amendment like that will succeed.
And, Senator, do the Republicans realize that even if they vote on Keystone and send it to the president and even have a veto override, that there's still 100 landowners in Nebraska who are going to go down the road of eminent domain and block this for at least another 2 years? I mean, there's a lot of theater here on this Keystone issue at this point? There's still a lot of legal hedgerow country to cut through on this. Your thoughts?
Well, I think you're right. I think they may not be aware of all of that. I think that what they want to do is say, see that the president is vetoing legislation which creates jobs. And let's be clear, the Keystone Pipeline creates 35 permanent jobs. It creates some construction jobs. But when we're talking about an economy which is creating 250, 300,000 jobs a month, this is minimal. If you want a jobs program, let's rebuild our crumbling infrastructure and put millions of people back to work.
Senator Bernie Sanders here on The Ed Show. Sir, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Great amendment. Should call it the Inhofe Amendment, too, by the way.